Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're plunging into an idea that's, well, both provocative and really empowering.
Oh, yeah.
What if the identity you've always thought was you? What if it's actually just a role? And what if you could consciously recreate yourself? Not just for personal growth, but as a profound act of power.
That's a huge concept, isn't it? This idea that your public self, your persona, it doesn't have to be fixed. You can be a deliberate creation, almost a strategic performance.
Exactly. So we're deep diving into Law 25, Recreate Yourself, from the 48 Laws of Power. We'll be exploring how some really compelling figures from history totally mastered this art of image, of theatrical presence.
Right.
Our mission today really is to unpack this fascinating idea that you don't have to just accept the roles society, tries to assign you. We'll look at some incredible stories, surprising insights, see how powerful people did just that.
And what's so interesting about Law 25 is how direct it is. It basically tells you, flat out, don't accept those roles society pushes on you.
Right.
Instead, you need to actively forge a new identity, one that commands attention. And this is key, never bores people. It's about being the master of your own image, really taking the reins instead of letting others define you.
So this goes way beyond just changing your job or your clothes. It sounds like it's about actively using dramatic devices in your public actions, your gestures, making your character seem larger than life, like you're always sort of performing.
That's exactly it. And, Giovanni Casanova, back in the 18th century, he really nailed this in his memoirs. He was talking about what it took to succeed in Rome.
What did he say?
He described the ideal man as a chameleon susceptible of reflecting the colors of the atmosphere. A Proteus, like the Greek sea god who could change shape.
Ah, yeah. Adaptable.
Exactly. Apt to assume every form, every shape. He felt this person needed to be flexible, insinuating, inscrutable, sometimes even, base or perfidious if needed, always holding something back.
And didn't Casanova admit something about himself? Of all those qualities?
Yeah, he admitted that the only one he really possessed was flexibility, which is pretty self-aware, actually.
It really is. So when we talk about recreating yourself, this core idea, is it about being fake? Or is there something, I don't know, more profound going on about control, maybe freedom? What does that actually mean for you, the listener, navigating that line? Let's get into some examples.
Well, if you want a masterclass in managing image, you have to look at Julius Caesar. He really is one of history's prime examples.
How so? Where did he start?
His first big mark on Rome back in 65 BC. It wasn't actually through war. It was when he was an aedile, an official. He organized these incredibly crafted, well-timed spectacles.
Spectacles? Like what?
Wild beast hunts, really extravagant gladiator shows, theatrical contests, big public events.
So he was basically using public entertainment to build his power base, creating this image of himself as a great public showman.
Well, precisely. He laid the foundation right there. And this flair for the dramatic, it just built. It really peaks at that critical moment, 49 BC at the Rubicon River.
Right, the brink of civil war. And the sources say Caesar was like an addict of the stage.
Totally. He actually debated both sides of the decision, whether to cross or not, like an actor working through a monologue, a precursor of Hamlet, as one source puts it.
That's amazing. And didn't he stage something too?
Oh, yeah. A dramatic apparition. This tall soldier suddenly appears, blasts a trumpet, crosses the bridge, then Caesar makes his big pronouncement. Let us accept this as a sign from the gods. The die is cast.
So it's theatrical.
Completely. And that speech, the drama, the timing, it just overwhelmed his generals. They were hesitant before that, uncertain, but this rallied them. He understood instinctively that when things are uncertain, people need a leader who projects absolute certainty, almost divine backing.
It's about manufacturing conviction, maybe. When everyone else is wavering, that's a powerful tool for any leader, really.
Absolutely. A more straightforward, prosaic speech, it just wouldn't have worked. Not the same effect at all.
And he took this into battle too, right? Played the leading man with gusto.
He did. Skilled horseman, always outdoing his soldiers in bravery, endurance, he positioned himself right in the center, like a godlike symbol of power.
And that's why his army was so loyal, presumably.
Exactly. That devotion stemmed from this carefully crafted image. And after he beat Pompey, the spectacles just got bigger. More chariot races, bigger gladiator fights. He even built a giant new theater.
Wow. And then he brings Cleopatra to Rome.
In 45 BC, yeah. Time for maximum effect, maximum surprise, and stage even more extravagant public shows. He was just relentlessly aware of his public image.
You can really see that. Wearing the purple robes, being vain about his hair. Apparently the laurel wreath was good for hiding baldness.
Yeah, Yeah, and he was a master orator, too. Knew how to say a lot by saying a little, knew exactly when to stop talking, always building in surprise.
Even his death, the Ides of March, 44 BC, he kept that sense of drama right to the end.
According to Suetonius, yes. Drawing his gown over his face, wanting to die covered and decent. And those famous last words to Brutus, apparently spoken in Greek. You too, my child. Like it was rehearsed for the final act of a play.
It's just incredible. The interpretation seems clear. Caesar might have been the first major public figure to really get that vital link between power and theater.
Right. He took his interest in drama and basically made himself the actor, the director on the world stage. Always aware of his audience. He didn't just use theater, he sort of was the theater.
It's such a powerful example, which brings us maybe to a different kind of self-creation. George Sand.
Ah, yes, George
Ah.
Sand. A fascinating counterpoint in some ways. So picture this, 1831. A young woman, Aurore Dupin de Dubon, leaves her family, goes to Paris. She wants to be a writer desperately. She found marriage just suffocating. Worse than prison, she called it. No freedom, no time.
And Paris back then, for a woman wanting independence, wanting to earn money, it was incredibly tough, wasn't it?
Extremely bleak. Basically, money came through marriage or, prostitution. That's pretty much it. She was even told by an editor, quite dismissively, "You should make babies, madam, not literature."
Ouch. Can you imagine hearing that?
It must have been infuriating. And it pushed her towards this really audacious strategy, something no woman had really done before. She decided to play the part of a man.
How does she do that?
Well, in 1832, she adopted the name George Sand, the pseudonym for her novel Indiana. But then she took it further. She exaggerated this public male image. Long men's coats, gray hats, heavy boots, these sort of dandyish cravats.
So it was a full persona.
Absolutely. She smoked cigars, she expressed herself forcefully like a man, wasn't afraid to dominate conversations, use maybe a saucy word here and there. It wasn't just about hiding, it was about embodying a character that gave her power and access.
And did it work?
Oh, it worked incredibly well. This strange male-female writer, as people saw her, totally fascinated the public. He got her accepted into these male artist circles, places she'd never gotten into as Aurore Dupin.
So she gained real agency from it in her relationships too, right?
Definitely. She could drink and smoke with them, hold her own. She even wooed and then abandoned famous artists like Musset, Liszt, Chopin. She was the one calling the shots, moving on when she wanted. For a woman then, that was revolutionary.
And this George Sand character, it wasn't fixed, was it? She kept changing it.
Exactly. That's crucial. Dupin would dramatically alter the character. She'd shift from intense love affairs to meddling in politics, leading demonstrations, inspiring student rebellions. She made sure no one would dictate to her the limits of the character she had created.
So the persona was like a shield, a tool.
Pretty much both. A
Yeah.
protective shield and a vehicle for whatever she wanted to do next. She kept adapting it.
And she even wrote about this, didn't she, in her journals?
She did. She was quite clear. She confessed she had no desire to actually be a man. It was a part she was playing for public consumption. What she wanted was the power and the freedom that came with it, that protean power, the ability to constantly adapt her identity.
So her male persona protected her from the public's judgment, the restrictions placed on women.
Exactly. Protected her from prying eyes and societal expectations.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? If your identity can be like a costume, something you put on and take off, how does that make you responsible for your own creation, as the law suggests?
It's a deep question.
And how could consciously crafting your persona maybe protect you from the roles the world keeps trying to push you into?
Yeah, how could that work today?
That's a really profound angle, and it leads us nicely into the sort of mechanics of it all. How do you actually do this self-creation? How does the dramatic effect work?
Well, our sources bring up Denis Diderot, the philosopher.
Yeah.
He had this quote about great actors.
What was it?
They do not mean by that he feels, but that he excels in simulating, though he feels nothing.
Wow. So powerful people need to consciously control their appearance, their emotions, because being genuinely sincere all the time, that's bad acting.
That's the idea. Diderot and the law suggest that the bad actor is the one who is always sincere. Constant, raw sincerity in public can actually be, well, tiresome and embarrassing. It can even make people scorn you.
So that whole idea of method acting, really feeling the part, fatal in the real world?
According to this perspective, yes. Good actors, or powerful individuals playing a role, they control themselves. They can play sincere and heartfelt, can affect a tear and compassionate look at will, but they don't have to feel it. It's about adopting the plasticity of the actor.
The ability to mold your outward self as needed. Okay.
Yeah.
What else? Beyond emotional control.
Timing, suspense. These are absolutely critical. Good drama unfolds over time. Rhythm and timing matter immensely.
Like Houdini.
Exactly like Houdini. He could apparently do some escapes in just seconds.
Yeah.
But he knew better. He'd deliberately draw them out for minutes to make the audience sweat, make them appreciate the difficulty, the mastery.
That strategic delay again, making people wait, actually amplifies the impact. It's kind of counterintuitive, but you see it everywhere once you look.
You do. And there's a great political example. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR. After he won the election in 1932, the U.S. was in this dire economic crisis.
What did he do?
First, he did nothing. An initial retreat, said very little, refused to meet the outgoing President Hoover, built suspense, then bam. His inaugural address hits with this really powerful speech. And immediately after, this rapid-fire burst of bold legislation, the famous 100 Days.
So it was the contrast, the quiet, then the storm of action.
Precisely. That clever pacing and use of dramatic contrast held the public in suspense, then hit them with a feeling of decisive action. Very effective theater.
Drama can also be used offensively too, right? To deceive an enemy?
Absolutely. There's this amazing story about Bertolt Brecht, the German playwright. He was called before the House Committee on Un-American Activities during that whole Red Scare period.
Oh, wow.
High pressure situation. Immense pressure. But instead of getting angry or emotional, which they probably expected, he basically played the committee like a violin. He rehearsed his responses beforehand. He brought props, like a cigar he fiddled with, and he just beguiled them with answers that were ambiguous, funny, and double-edged. He used performance art, essentially, to run circles around them, a staged production, to protect himself.
That's incredible, using their own expectations against them. So the takeaway there is,
it's about not letting your real feelings dictate your public response, especially when under attack. By adopting a persona, maybe even a slightly confusing one, you control the interaction.
Yeah.
You deflect. You keep your cool. You disarm them because you're not reacting like they thought you would.
Makes sense. And we should also mention the beau geste, right? That symbolic action.
Yes, the beau geste, that grand symbolic action at a key moment. Like Caesar crossing the Rubicon, it crystallizes triumph or boldness.
And entrances and exits, too. They need planning.
Definitely. Crafting your stage entrances and exits. Cleopatra arriving rolled up in a carpet for Caesar that's legendary. Or think about George Washington, his two big departures from power. Resigning as general and then refusing a third term as president. Those were powerful, dramatic exits that cemented his legacy.
There's a flip side, though, isn't there, about not overdoing it?
Oh, for sure. Very important point. Overacting can be counterproductive. It can look desperate or just silly.
Like Richard Burton, the actor.
Yeah, apparently he discovered that sometimes just standing totally still on stage drew way more attention than chewing the scenery. It suggests control, power. So gracefulness and imposing stillness on the social stage can count for more than trying too hard. Quiet power often speaks louder.
It's fascinating how these figures really mastered this. But where did this whole idea, this concept of consciously creating yourself, even come from originally?
Well, the sources suggest it really has its roots in the world of art. For a long time, historically speaking, only kings and maybe the highest nobility had the freedom, the power to consciously shape their public image. Everyone else's role was pretty much fixed.
And then artists started playing with this.
Exactly. Think about Velázquez's painting, Las Meninas. It's often seen as representing this sort of dramatic change in the dynamics of power.
How so?
Because Velázquez, the artist, he paints himself into the scene, and he's positioned much more prominently than the king and queen. You only see them reflected dimly in a mirror in the background.
Ah, so the artist is controlling the image, their image even.
Right. He's the one framing how royalty is presented. Artists, writers, later people like dandies and bohemians. They were among the first non-aristocrats to really start playing openly with their image, experimenting with identity. And gradually that idea has filtered down, become something anyone can aspire to, a way to gain agency.
It really loops back to that Proteus idea, doesn't it? The Greek sea god changing shape.
It does. Balthazar Gracian, another writer on power and strategy, really emphasized this. Know how to be all things to all men. Become a discreet Proteus, a scholar among scholars, a saint among saints. Take note of temperaments and adapt yourself.
It's about that masterful adaptability, but maybe without losing your core self or purpose underneath.
That seems to be the balance. Adapt the presentation, not necessarily the core. And it's interesting, the law itself basically says there's no real reversal to this. You can't not manage your image in a way.
What do you mean?
Well, Bad theater is bad theater.
Hmm.
Trying too hard, being overly dramatic or histrionic, that's just bad performance. Doesn't command respect, it usually invites ridicule.
Hmm.
Even trying to appear natural and authentic requires a degree of art of acting. So there's really no escaping the need to understand and consciously manage how you present yourself.
Okay, so let's try and wrap up this deep dive. Recreating yourself, according to this law, it isn't really about just being fake or deceptive for its own sake.
No, not fundamentally. It's more about strategic mastery of your public image. It comes from understanding human psychology, understanding dramatic principles, and applying them consciously.
It's about choosing to be the director, maybe the lead actor, in the drama of your own life, rather than just accepting a bit part someone else assigned you.
Well put. So, maybe the final thought for our listeners is this. If the world is trying to put you in a box, assign you a role that limits your power, what kind of Promethean act of defiance might you consider?
Prometheus, like Prometheus stealing fire, a
Yeah,
bold transformative act.
exactly. What act could you undertake to create an identity truly of your own making?
And perhaps just how might consciously viewing your public interactions, your work, your life as a form of theater actually empower you in ways maybe you haven't even thought about before.
Definitely something to mull over.
Food for thought.
Mhm.
Till next time on The Deep Dive.